All right. Good night, everybody. Welcome to the Fatherhood Think Tank. It is the most intellectual 90 minutes that you will have in your life. A place where you can meet and listen to fathers talk about topics that affects fathers, that affect men, affect the families and their communities. Today we have a really good topic. Probably one that was brought to me by one of our fathers who shared it this week in one of our chat rooms, and he was asking a question. So we're going to talk a little bit about it tonight and see what fathers can understand, or maybe hopefully explain to fathers a little bit, let them understand, begin to look at it. Again, we want to welcome everybody to this conversation. If you're watching, if you have questions, comments, you can drop them live on the live YouTube page, and we'll try to answer those questions. I ask the father, whatever father's there that you might want to ask that question to. Those questions are just listening and find out the knowledge that we have tonight. I'm Ron Osborne Williams of Fatherhood Think Tank, and let me introduce you to the rest of the fathers for the night.
Hello, everyone. Thomas Alberry. I'm a father of one grown son, and she's married, and a grown daughter, who's also married. And I am a grandfather of 7, 5 girls and 2 boys.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Larry Jordan. Man, it is great to be back. I've been missing in action for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Father of 2, grandfather of 1. Just happy to just be in the building with y'all.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. My name is Lionel Lightborn. I'm a father to a tribe of 7 young adults, 4 young men, 3 young women, and 1 granddaughter. So it's always a pleasure to be here.
Evening, gentlemen. I've been away for a while as well. Good to be back. I'm trying to get in where I can fit in. It's been busy. I have, my name is Ed Tenney. I have 6 kids, 3 biologicals, 3 steps, 1 granddaughter who's in my arms right now who may be fighting me a little bit, and 1 in the oven.
All right. Chevy, Fred, Jay, you guys want to dot?
Good afternoon, y'all. This Chevy.
Okay, welcome, my brother.
How y'all doing? I've been missing for a while. Just speaking to Jay, who just sent me the link, said I'm gonna tap in. I'm married. I have a 1-year-old, my first child. I'm trying. That's all I can say. I'm trying.
That's all we can do, brother.
That's right. All right. I guess.
Well, since he introduced himself with my name, my name is Justin, father of 5. I have a 12-year-old son, an 8-year-old daughter, 3-year-old daughter, a 1-year-old daughter, and I have a soon-to-be 3-month-old son. And it's always great to be here with you, gentlemen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, you ain't had no choice, your homeboy. Thank you, Chevy, because he would have tried to stay quiet the whole time, like he ain't sent you the text to get here.
You're welcome.
So let's get it popping tonight. So the nice topic is understanding parental kidnapping. And so I'm upset because the person who brought this whole topic, oh my God, I'm seeing somebody about to come in the room, gonna shock us all. Tonight's topic is parental kidnapping. And brother Rohan was the one to come up with this topic. So I was hoping he would be his behind here tonight to talk about it, but he might still be a little bit tired from his trip he took back to the mother to his homeland. But let's get into this topic, and I just want to give a definition of what is stated in the state of Florida, because most of us are dealing in the state of Florida. What is considered to be parental kidnapping is when a parent keeps their child from the other parent in violation of the parent's custody rights, often called custodial interference or parent-child abduction. And it typically occurs in high conflict, custody, or divorce cases. Now, if you heard what I said there, they didn't say anything that if it was a mom or a dad, they just said parents. So I want to set the tone tonight that we're not looking at this as what parent. We're just looking at that a parent is doing it and how sometimes it may come across, how it may look to us as the fathers we are here. I want to. I almost made the title of this parental kidnapping versus I just want to have time with my kids, right? But I said let's just talk more about understanding parental kidnapping, because I think that this is something that some fathers may think they might go out here and try to do and really set themselves up for some serious felony charges or something in that capacity that may not be a good look for them or the society overall. But I'll say that let me hear what some of you fathers think about this idea of parental kidnapping. And I think more than likely, we'll see that this really occurs in high conflict relationships. Where I just got off the phone just a minute ago with a father who had just had an incident of enforcing the parenting plan with the mother. We talked about this, and in his words, I told him he got to call me back, but he told me the whole situation went sideways. So I can't wait till he called me back to kind of hear what happened in that. But he could almost been on, if he didn't have his parenting plan, he could have been brought up on some parental kidnapping. I think the mother told him that she was going to parental kidnap the kid after he brought the information up. So listen, this is high tense stuff, baby. What do we say out here, guys? Anybody's thoughts and feelings about this? How do we understand, or what do we think about parental kidnapping?
No, I understand it as well. I mean, I think it's just an extended form of domestic violence, in a sense. If you're going to use a child as a pawn, you understand, as an instrument to have a fight or even win a fight, and that's on either end. I think statistically and emotionally, we ought to look at the outcomes to understand why that law even exists, and look at the pros and cons of the outcomes, and see where the safety issues fall, to come up with a better understanding on why the law exists in the first place or even needed to exist. And so I think it was a lot of times that when you use children as a pawn to win fights or disputes or whatever like that, I mean, that should be a form of child abuse anyway. But when it comes to really establishing yourself as a parent, and I want to say fortunately and unfortunately, but biologically, that mother is deemed the primary parent, only because naturally she actually gives birth to the child, and we can trace that child to her. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the father, and then we're talking about attachment as well. And so I can understand the rights when it comes to that dynamics, and statistically on who's more likely, what's the ratio of fathers who really will be the fathers that they should be to their child versus the fathers who just want to have the fight and end up. And we see this all the time, where fathers want to have rights to their child and then drop them off at grandmama's house, which is their mother. the biological father's mother's house. You understand, and still want to get credit for being a father. And so I think it's a lot of understanding that we have to dig into in this conversation to come up with a just outcome of what this really mean and possibly should mean. That's it.
I think that first of all, when you say kidnapping, I think that kidnapping, at least from what I've been associated with, it's usually evolves around the man. Very seldom do you ever hear that a woman has kidnapped her own child. There may be a lot of reasons for that, but it's a connotation that usually surrounds a man. Also, it usually is always around some very emotional situation. And when people have a tendency to lose themselves emotionally, that's when all kinds of things can happen. One of which is child abduction or kidnapping or whatever you want to call it. So I think a lot of times as parents, if we can, it's hard to do, but take the emotion out of the situation and look at it rationally, I think that it would really suppress a lot of these instances.
Hey, Ron, let everybody know this is a jump in, get in where you fit in conversation. So just give your answer. You don't have to give the right answer. It's a consensus.
Right. And I think that light point is exactly on point.
Yeah, that's true.
The big part of this is for us to be able to have a conversation so things can come out that we can begin to realize. Because in some of you guys, this ain't even a concern for you yet. But like I said for myself, and I said it, somebody said to me, "Oh,
that might be a concern for me." I got a point. Continue though.
No, go ahead, Chevy. I'll bring it back. Go ahead, brother.
It's like it's a left or a right turn. If I keep arguing, I'm not gonna have my child. Just like you said, the woman wins. So it's like, okay, I'm at the right where it's like, all right, if I know it's going left, I might as well just go get joint custody. Like I don't hear none of you guys mentioning that. Like,
and that's what I did.
I don't want
to try to go I didn't mean to cut you off, but I went to go try to get joint custody, and look what happened to me. I ended up getting and look like I'm a menace.
Yeah, I think
my child in almost 3 years now. So that joint custody thing is only half a half.
Jay, I'll explain to Jay a little bit more because I know Jay's, and I was going to use Jay as an example, but I think in the area probably can't hear. What you're saying is exactly right. But here is, as I told you in this incident that I was talking about prior to this guy who has, because what we don't do, and Lionel have talked about this so much, when we are able to finesse to have a baby, right? We have to find the time to finesse also to get all our papers and things in order. We need to be able to get the paper to say, hey, here's the paternal right. Hey, you know what? Let me go down. Can we go down? I know that I could pay money on child support, but listen, how about we go down to the child support together and put me on the child support the way I need to be put on the child support. And if you do that, then what'll happen is I will, I'll let the child support play itself out. Let's do the thing. Let's fill out the paperwork to say that I am the paternal dad. Let's have a paternity test. Let's do all of these things that we may need to do for that to happen. And then once you're able to do that and finesse that, if a problem comes up, you have the safety net in play. As this father we just seen, the father I just talked to before we started the show, he had everything in the safety net into play, and And what ended up happening? He told the mother, I want to follow the parent. They had an issue. They had an argument. It went left and right, and they kept going left and right. He said, you know what? I'm just going to follow the parenting plan. She was like, no, I don't want to follow the parent. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she came to the house and did the thing she did and got took out of their handcuffs. Listen, but the problem is, and I told him, he said, you know, he thanks me every day, every time he talked to me, for telling him to go talk to the lawyer and do this. Every time I talk to this brother, that's what he's saying. I say, man, listen, I'm just telling you from my own experience, what I failed to do. What I thought that I was smarter than. I thought that I had a better relationship with. But just the same reason why we got to have life insurance, car insurance, we need to have that same kind of insurance for our children.
That's so true.
Even if we're married. Because a lot of times we'll say, oh, well, I'm married. That's not my problem. Like we'll hear a lot of fathers say, it's not my problem because I'm married and this and that. And then shortly after they have some problems, some separation, then they saying, I can't believe this was done to me. And I'm gonna say this, I'm a person for big self-accountability. You can't blame the other person. You got to blame yourself. Just like if we get listen, I to this day own up that it's my fault that my child mother got pregnant. Not her fault. No matter what she did, it's my fault because I could have did something different for that not to happen.
So Ron, excuse my ignorance, I guess. The laws vary when you have joint custody versus sole custody. You can't kidnap if there's no kidnapping that can happen if you have joint custody.
And if you have joint custody with an actual parenting plan, there's no way you can kidnap. But most of the fathers who ultimately end up finding themselves in this parental kidnapping situation are fathers who may not even have the paternal rights. They might have been paying, listen, the baby might have been here since birth. They might have signed a birth certificate. They might have been paying, taking care of the mom, blah, 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 blah. And then the mom say, listen, I'm out of here, I'm gone. Or she might say, I can't take it no more. You do it. Because it's a movie out right now. I'm just saying, I had to go and look up the movie. I can't. I ain't advertising the movie, but it's a Detroit movie made from the Detroit players. I can't because they had this man posted up as the newest, most domestic batterer ever. Because they had to list a whole bunch of domestic batterers. And they would say, what do all these men got in common? I looked and I was like, who is this dude? And I went and looked, and yeah, this in the movie, this guy he had a child with the woman, but he got a trap. So there is two sides to it. It's I like to be very transparent. There's two sides because people are two-sided. We're not one type of person. It could be just depending on what kind of relationship the people have. It could be because guess what? I'm also gonna bring this part. There's a whole bunch of successful co-parenting relationships happening where the kids get dropped off, get picked up. The families all go together to Disney World. They all show up for the prom. They all do these things. Not one problem. But we do have to talk about the ones that's not successful because a lot of times those are the ones that end up in the kind of fatalities that we see. Because when someone feels like they can't have what they need to have and they don't want to have, they're going to have it by any means necessary. So there is, and I don't know if that fully answered your question, Ed.
No, to Ed, what Ed's point is, yeah, there's a distinction between when it comes to access like that and kidnapping, Ed. I think and that's why I think we shouldn't take marriage so lightly. Because marriage is actually recognized as what they call a civil or judicially recognized by the courts, which give you automatic rights. So if you're married to the mother of that child, both of you guys get equal rights rather than equal access to that child. If you're not married and you have a child with a woman, and then you have to almost, and this is the double-edged sword to it. Your name is on the birth certificate, right? And because your name is on the birth certificate, you can be judicially liable for child support because your name is on the birth certificate.
Mhm.
On the flip side of that, you're not eligible for custody. So you're liable for child support because your name is on the birth certificate, which is a legal document. It's a state document. But you're not, but you're not eligible for child custody. And so it's amazing how you can be liable on one end, or on one end of the court, which is the child support court or the Department of Revenue, and on the family court, you're not eligible, even though the same document can actually penalize you on one end, but don't uplift you on the other. So yeah, it's a clear distinction, but there's other ways around that, and I'll get back into that after I let somebody else go.
Well, you know what, to expound on what Lightborn was saying, good evening, everybody. There's a little bit difference with like Lightborn was saying, when you are married to the person you have a kid versus when you're single and you both have a kid. Now, custody is not automatically awarded like that. That 50-50 when you get divorced isn't always there. Mom still can get full custody of that child, right? But the whole point is that you are recognized as the father because you're married, and you don't have to go to the legalities of proving paternity and all this other stuff. And so those rights, like Lightborn was saying, are kind of like given to you, right? But as a single person, you have to earn those rights. You still, and plus the uphill battle of getting some visitation and everything like that. Because in all cases, I say like I was, and it's funny because I was having this conversation just the other day about custody battles and who gets awarded more. So it made me have to do some research. And only 18%, about 18% of the fathers who actually are married and separate are awarded custody of their kids, or some type of, and like it was like 30% get, are awarded visitation rights, where they have the ability to be to get, pick up the kids like we're talking about now. So one thing that I have to say is, when you are able to do that and you get that parenting plan in place, what you have to do is I always recommend that you follow that parenting plan. I mean, if it's the ability to do it amicably, and you guys can reach some type of compromise where you're like, you know what, I know it's not your week, but you want to see the kid, so I'm gonna allow, come over and pick the child up. That's one thing, but have that parenting plan in place, because one thing that's going to do is going to help you out a lot, because a lot of people don't realize that if it's your week, right, and mom says, you know what, you're not picking him up this week because I'm mad at you, she's in violation of a court order. This is a court order that she's in violation, and you have more rights than you think. And so I would say use that, as much as you can to protect yourself and protect your rights as a parent. But like Lightborn and Ron was saying, if you can, finesse it, because you can get a lot more. But I know it's just sometimes guys, man, if you mess up bad, remember, women are emotional. So finessing is going to take a little bit more work, and it's going to be a lot harder for you. So stick with it and try to reach a point where you can be there and finesse your way with the woman and get on better terms with them.
Okay, so help me out again here. Parenting plan, is that a drawn up document done by lawyers that is then filed with the court to make it a...
No, you can do the parenting plan yourself.
You can do it,
but it will be upheld by the judge.
To certify it, you can do the parenting plan. You and the mother can agree to do it, right? So initially she may agree, yeah, I'll do it. Y'all do the parenting plan. You work, and it's really a document to say, hey, when you really pay attention, this document is to set the ground rules and the boundaries for what we're gonna do for this child, and who's gonna be responsible, how we're gonna be responsible. It does what the child support system does not do. The child support system only goes and says, hey, let's look at the monetary thing and let's make the monetary plan. They don't listen. in the paperwork for child support, they may send the request for a parenting plan, right? But the mother has to agree. And if she doesn't agree to it, you could write it up and do everything, but it doesn't happen. So the goal is to have this kind of working relationship with the mother in some aspect to be able to get the parenting plan for you to be able to see your child and be involved. And it is, as soon as it's notarized, it is a legal document binding like a contract of any other kind. So the idea of saying, oh, well, I changed my mind about this, because, you know, and a lot of people would say, well, they're not going to sign a parenting plan. You know, again, anybody who goes, I think, forward, like fairly into a contract of saying what's best for their child and fill out a parenting plan are more likely, unless something bad happens, is a great safety net. Because if the person get mad at you and say, well, the kid not going over because I'm tired of you. Well, no, you got to go to court. And you got to make a motion to have a reason that this plan that we agreed on is no longer going to happen. Now, that kid can't come over my house into something. And if you violate, and here's the other point. Now, the other thing is, if you violate it, the other person can take you to court and almost maybe soon get the full custody of the child, because someone is saying that at least you had the 9. That's why I suggest to every father who have kids that are under 3 years old, and if you at that point at 3 to 5, 3 to 6, try to work out something where you and the mom can fill out a parenting plan, and don't sell it as a parenting plan. And I say this: don't sell it as a parenting plan for you. Sell it a parenting plan for her. You know, let her fill out the parts that she really wants. And a lot of times we don't want to do that, but let her fill out all the time that she really needs, or she thinks she's going to want to have help, and how the resources and what days and that. Because guess what then? But you know for sure what happened on your birthday, on Father's Day, maybe every other Christmas, every other Thanksgiving. You be sure to see your child be coming with you and be with your family. You know, summertime, things of that nature. You know, some moms say, hey, I'll take the less in the parenting plan. You take the most.
But Ron, also they got to be able to distinguish too. I think most fathers make the mistake of thinking that child support court is family court.
Yes.
You can't take a family court argument to a child support judge. Always understand that. They never gonna understand you. You know why? Because they're a child support judge. We call it child support, but the correct name for that particular court is called the Department of Revenue, which means they're not trying to hear about morale, they're trying to deal with money. Understand the difference? Child support court is about money, not morale. Family court is about morale. And so you have to, and this is the key word here, we have to establish rights in different courts. And so you establish your monetary rights, child support court, AKA the Department of Revenue, establish your visitation and your custody rights in family court, 2 separate courts. But make sure when you go to both courts, you're standing in both, because the family court is going to know what you're looking like on the child support end. And don't wait for the child support have to order you to pay. Already have some kind of payment history and plan. And the best part about right now than then, particularly when I was a father and my kids was young, is we didn't have Cash App. But Cash App is a very good tool now, and a good record-keeping tool. That way you can take it to court, you get to bring your cell phone up and say, listen, I Cash App. But even if she sends it back, you can still have that record that I kept Cash Apping her every month. She sent it back, so I just put it in escrow. But guess what? Keep sending it every month, even if she sends it back. So you can have that record to satisfy the child support court. That way, when you transition into family court, everything will be smooth, and it'll make her look more unreasonable than you. Because most of the time, the guys look guilty anyway, because we're guys, and you just have to really establish your character as you're trying to really access your right. And that's just the reality.
And you know what? Lightborn's 100% correct with that one.
Cash
App, Zelle, do what you got to do to keep that documentation. That's 100% right.
So what you trying to say is keep your receipts.
No, listen, no, see receipts.
Got you.
Not, listen,
Copy that.
Listen, I don't know if it. Listen, if you don't have technology today, you probably need to get it, because listen, that receipt business, they can run. And I think, like Bowen said, an even better thing. If the money come back to you, put it in keep it on the Cash App. Don't spend it, keep it on. You send the money, keep it. I know. Listen, what I'm saying to do is sometimes hard because you gotta really make a lot. But as much as possible, whatever money you send, try to find a way to make sure it stay if it come back to you. And I'll tell you why. Because if they go to the court, right, and say, well, you haven't paid, they're gonna order you to pay. But there ain't nothing if they say, oh, how much you gonna pay? You say, hey, I have an escrow over $10,000 that I've been sending to her. $10,000 I have. I can pull it up right now, Your Honor. I can pull it up right now, whoever, Your Majesty, whoever. That's what the guys in court be saying, Your Majesty. I'll pull it up right now and I can give it to whoever I need to give it to right now. What that shows to the court is there is some kind of relational communication issue here. Not that you're trying to because most people have the idea that you're trying to be a deadbeat, And I'll say that here's the problem in this thing when we're talking about parental kidnapping. Most fathers will be accused of parental kidnapping, right? Because the view of them is looking like deadbeats, that they want to do something negative to the child. It's not ever seen as I took my kid because I want to spend some time with them. I want to know what they like. I want to take them to when you took this kid, what did you do with him? We went to the zoo, then we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and then I brought him back home. That's what happened. And now I'm getting arrested. I didn't take the kid and run, like, let's be real. You're not, listen. And sometimes it's so messy. I'll just say sometimes it's so messy. The idea that you could be accused of kidnapping your child when your child would have been sitting at home with somebody, some stranger. That's one thing that teases me when I hear people say, well, the dad can't come get the kid, but the kid can stay with a minor while the mom not home. Listen, why can't the kid go with the dad? If he ain't doing nothing, again, we're not, I'm saying, and I would say this, I'm gonna stretch a little bit. Outside of a father being a pedophile to their own children, I find very few things that you find that fathers do to their children. Fathers, the biological fathers. The most biological fathers don't beat their kids to death. It's usually, the statistics show us boyfriends and stepfathers.
And then one more essential thing. Remember that we were talking about Cash App there. Make sure you're very specific. That is for child support. So every time you say that, it should be headed child support. Because if it's just money and it doesn't have a specific title to it, specifically child support, they're not going to recognize it. So it has to say child support. Right, exactly. They're classified as a gift. And so be very specific and intentional in when you send in that Cash App. Again, you don't have to take it or whatever the case may be. You still send it anyway. And if you come back good, it's very rare that women send money back. But if it come back, that's okay as well. Just put in the escrow.
Well, just know if it's coming back, you need to be smarter on your end. Because if it's coming back, that means that she got a plan for something else. Because I don't care what you say. Look, you send me $300 on Cash App, it ain't coming back, Jay.
Listen, man, Trump sent them $1,200. They didn't know why it was coming, but they spent it.
Exactly. They didn't know what it was. Listen, the people in the PIP, they got as much of that money. They ain't know what. They just got the money. Money.
Yep. But the key to it is this, like having sense enough to put the money in escrow. You can put it in escrow just like you would do when you buy a property or whatever. You can put it in escrow for 18 years if that be the case. At the end of it, because you got people that the kid's 16 years old and they put the parent, the father on child support. Now you got money in arrears for something that you done took care of 15 years of that. You dig what I'm saying? If you're smart enough to, if that money comes back, put it into escrow so that it'll be documented as that this is what this is for. You dig what I'm saying? Like, it's nothing more legally binding than that. Cash App, that's great. Yeah, she sent the money back, but 9 times out of 10, if she sent it back, what you gonna do? You gonna spend it. Put it somewhere where you can't even really touch it. Make it make sense.
Mhm. Great point, Ron. Great.
Oh
point.
yeah, and she's legally binding too. She's legally, and that's legally binding. If she accepts the child support, is legally binding because it don't get you caught up in a fraud case, which means if she's drawing down SNAP assistance and Medicaid assistance and stuff like that, when they bring you to court, they can't penalize you on that end because it'll be like she's double dipping. Or better yet, she was fraudulent, not you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or better yet, she was fraudulent and you were negligent.
Well,
That's the difference. So if you can approve just one child support check, just one, you understand? It'll prove that, okay, number one, she knew where you was. And number two, she already established some type of what you call care or coverage for that child from you. So y'all had some type of contract, be it verbal or whatever, already in place. And she went knowingly or unknowingly for you and still establish that contract with the government. So I mean, you just gotta protect, CYA yourself as particularly as a man, just to stay in the picture.
Like,
also,
absolutely. I
was also thinking about, the line I was saying about escrow. If that mother sends that money back to you, in the next month, you send that same money back to her. That's gonna leave you in the rear. You know what I'm saying? If you return the same money back to her again, but and not pay for that month. Each month that you put the money out, it has and it's coming back to you. Put it in escrow.
And
what I said?
right.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What Elder Tom is saying. He's saying, just so you guys get a clear in the audience, what he's saying is, don't take that same money. You send her 600, she sends it back. Don't send the same 600. You got to keep that 600 and send her a new 600.
Right.
So now you got 1,200 that you have, and you got to send her another 600 the following month. And don't just keep sending her the same 600, or you're going to be in the same mess, like the other gentleman was saying earlier.
Well, Gene, let me say this. Lionel brought this up, and so I just want to be very clear about this because, some of the things we're talking about right now is some of the reasons why people might go and try to kidnap their kids, because this ain't working. What we're talking about doesn't work. But sometimes you have to. I know it's very difficult to work with the system, but pretend like it's a bill collector. If the bill collector say you owe them money, you're gonna ask them to send you an invoice, send you how much you want them to pay it for. And as Lightborn said, when you send the money back, you send back, this is for such and such that you already got a copy of. You got a copy of what that bill is. If it's $1,200, I'm gonna send you the whole $1,200 for it. Send the whole $1,200, because what happens later, that it's worth it to get a lawyer then, because you would have had 1,200, 600, 500, 700. You got all these things, and you have what these things allegedly was costing. So when they go to say, well, medical, I'm taking care of the medical, I'm taking care of these things, because 9 out of 10 people may not be that meticulous. They may just be saying they just trying to, a lot of times people just trying to survive. And I know that sometimes we're just trying to survive. But listen, if you just know that somebody gonna help the mother of your child survive, nobody gonna help you. Hopefully we helping you get the knowledge to survive. But they got people who will literally come and say, hey, you need to do this, that, blah, blah. Let me look at what you got. Let me help you look it out. We don't have that system for a lot of you fathers. So you have to do it yourself. It's easy. I'll tell anybody who smokes cigarettes, right? I give you a perk. People who smoke cigarettes, they take their money out to be able to buy the packs of cigarettes they're gonna buy. That same way that you take that money organized for the cigarettes, and maybe if you get you some liquor on the side, or you're gonna get something a little bit stronger to snuff on, are you gonna go down the little back alley on Sis Trump? Whatever way you're using that money for, the budgeting it, that's how you need to budget for your kids is too. It is the same thing. It's the same thing. Budget it out. This how much I got for this and this and that. And you got to keep your records for yourself. Because everything that you give, listen, the one benefit I had one benefit I had is every time I sent my child's mother something, I said, this was, she wrote me a text message what she needed money for, and I wrote it back, this is for that. This is for that. This is for that. This is for that. But at the text message, and so if I have to ever pull, I pull the text messages and pull the cash apps simultaneously. I never sent anything. I never gave any cash because we live in the same place, so I couldn't give. That's the other great part. We're not in the same place, so I'm able to send electronic all the time. And so that's the thing we got to really look at. How do we solve that? Because I know we kind of seem like we're talking about child support and how to pay child support, but when you ask some of these fathers why they took the kids, because they done paid this stuff and did it and still not seeing their kids. So they just take it upon themselves, they're gonna pull up. They just gonna pull up, take the kid, because the kids, guess what? A lot of times, these dads ain't taking the kids like a human trafficker. The kids know their dad. They go with their dad. Their kids are not crying and saying, no, don't take me. No. The kids is like, Daddy, where we going now? I love you, blah, blah, blah. Kids don't even know they're being kidnapped.
Yeah, Ron, but you still, particularly as a man, you're penalized for that 1 in 10. And in some cases, 1 in 100. It depends on the severity of the harm that fathers that who just using the kid as a negotiating tool would do. And so they penalize you. What they said is if there's reasonable doubt. So men, and particularly fathers, when it comes to fatherhood, we're up against reasonable doubt. Why? It's because, again, if 1 in 10 or even 1 in 100 will harm a kid, then the one become more powerful or more relevant than the 100. You see how that works? Mm-hmm. And so they want to eliminate the risk completely and not take any chances, particularly when it comes to a child being harmed. And so that statistics actually shape laws. Well, a good argument too, but statistics actually shape laws. And so when you bring all the atrocities in, and even though you have a lot of equity when it comes to a father being in the life of that particular child. And so I think if we can bridge the gap between the atrocities that can happen versus the victories that will happen when the father's in life of a child, then that's when you can come to really create some just laws that'll benefit not just both parents, but particularly that child.
Absolutely.
I don't want to do all the talking because I got another perspective too, another negotiating tool. You got a negotiating tool. Now, this for the fellas. Y'all love this one here. Now you you have to you just gotta learn how to work that D, right? And people like, work that D. Yeah, you gotta work that D. And you gotta trade working one D, because again, you gotta know how to transition from working one D to working another D. You understand? So you negotiate well with one D, but you gotta learn how to negotiate and transition into working another D. You know what that D is? Being dependent. And one thing I know about a mother that loves her child, it's hard and almost difficult for her to trust that child with anybody, not even her own relatives. And so if that father, and this is one of the greatest negotiating tools guys fail to use, if you are a dependent father, you understand? I don't care what kind of raggedy mother she is. If she like the club, use that to your benefit. You don't just say, oh, I got the child. Because guys get jealous like, okay, she parlaying in the club and I'm watching the child. I'm like, that's how you see that? You don't see her going to the club as you getting access to your child, which makes me question your motive. Do you really want to be a father, or do you really want to be with her? And so we have to understand that your greatest D is your dependence and your ability to be dependent. So that mother know, like, you know what? This child support don't mean nothing because his dependency keeps me in Cancun. And I can depend on him. Well, when I need to do something spontaneous or something, an emergency, he can kick in even when my mama don't kick in. Because every child don't, I mean, every mother of your child don't have a dependent parent, and particularly these parents these days, these grandmothers don't want to be bothered with no grandchildren, not to that extent when they want to be in the club too. You understand? And so you got a lot of negotiating tools on your end when you see your ability to be dependable is bigger than your regular other D. You understand?
Well,
And actually, it goes a longer way. You understand? And you'll find out that woman to have another. You guys have developed another relationship far greater than the relationship you guys lost. So just.
but like Brian, that will only work. That I believe that can work, but it only works if you two can communicate boundaries of how that's going to work. Because many of us, we may want to be with our kids, but it also has to be at the same convenience that you want us to be with the kid. You can't call me and say Tuesday and say Wednesday I'm going to Cancun for 4 days, for 5 days, the whole weekend. Now you could, and the reason why you can't do that, because you can't do that in a real marriage where you got to raise kids. See, I think one of the things that people forget is they think that co-parenting would be easier because you're not with the person, but it's not easier. You got to probably do more communication, more working and negotiating than you do if you was married. Because when you're married, you stay in the same house. Listen, if I leave the house, guess what? If I leave the house, the kids left at the house, you stuck, Jack. It ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm gone. Whereas when you're staying in two different homes, it takes some communication, some things like, and it has to be admirable. You can't just, again, I don't care if you go to, listen, I may not care because I may not be a club person, right? I may just be a person, but also at the same point, when are we a parent person? Because a lot of these parents on here will tell you that to be able to do something, they gotta get a babysitter. The married people, to do something, they gotta get a babysitter. So it's not, so you gotta make up your mind of this idea of the sacrifice you make when you, because listen, imagine this. Okay, let's say I kidnap my child, right? I kidnap her, and then I'm trying to live and do whatever. I now got to adjust to being a single dad who kidnapped the child who I got to do all this stuff for. That before I probably wasn't do. I got to figure out how to do. Also, what I got to do is put my child in involvement with other people, not exclusively me. I leave them over my sister's house, my mama's house, all my girlfriends' houses, that kind of thing. So my child is being exposed to a lot of different places. But I kidnapped her so I can have access to my kid. I kidnapped, they looking for her, but we stay all the way in on the borderline in Texas. We're going right back and forth to Mexico all the time.
Hey Ron, hold on. Views of the Fatherhood Think Tank doesn't reflect the.
Very good. I was about to say that.
Look who showed up. Look who showed up, Ron.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's the detective himself.
Yeah, listen, it's simple. Do not try this at home. Whatever is being said here regarding kidnapping is something we don't advocate for. But here's the funny thing about kidnapping. When you think about fathers, yeah, we talk about fathers or mothers in some cases who kidnap their children. Most times, from my experience, it's the fathers. How about when the mom or the mom leaves a house and kidnap the kids? The courts are not involved. Let's just do that. The father comes home. There's no child. There is no mother. In our society, mothers are told, leave the house. He's violent. Leave the house whenever he is not there, and take the kids. But the courts are not involved. So what I want to say to many fathers here is that once in a scenario where you come home and you do not see your child, and in many cases, you have the right to call it. Sometimes, I don't want to call the cops, but call the mom and report it. Because by law, the mom has to go to court to show evidence, the reason she's taking the child out of the house. So kidnapping may be what you see on your phone, you see, in Volusia County, kidnapping, but sometimes it goes on in the relationship. So I agree with you, Ron. You have to set these boundaries.
Hey, that's a really good, that's why this was your topic in the first place. How many times does a mom say, I'm mad with you and I'm taking the kids and I'm leaving? That's kidnapping. Because if you mad, the kid's not mad at me. You mad at me. So why don't you just go to your mama's house and me and the kids will stay stay here. You know, I watched this movie recently, a TV show called Beef. Asian, two people were mad at each other. And the father did a lot of the work. And it's really a good point with Rohan is saying. The father was doing a lot of work. And the father, because he was the one being most of the caregiver, he just took the daughter every time. Him and the mom got that problem. He just took him and the daughter went and stayed in the hotel. The mom couldn't find them at all. She was, well, where's my baby? Blah, blah, blah. She had all the money. She could have found him if she wanted. But he took the kid because he was mad at what happened with the mom. You know, and he had some justifiable reasons to not take the kid. He took the kid also because the mom was doing some really detrimental things for the kid. I mean, the kid actually got kidnapped. But she got kidnapped while she was with the dad. So that's a whole nother story. So, you know, these are the kind of things that you look at that how we are in our relationships, our kids are affected by. So we got to do as much as possible to you know, modify our behavior, because everything we do, our kids are affected by. Good, bad, and ugly.
And you know, just to say to fathers here, I'm from the islands, right? You want to get something funny? If that mom gets a call to come to the United States, she'll leave those kids. She's not kidnapping the kids to go to America. She's leaving those kids. It just goes to show, what is your moral fiber? What's really important to you? Is it your legend or is it money? And I use those terms because many of us along our journey in life have to make that decision. Is it our children or is it the money? How much money can you work? How much money you think you can work? Because the reality at the end of the day, your child doesn't end at 18. Your child, in fact, to be honest, your child doesn't never end. It's your child until the whistle blows. Food for thought.
Yeah, your whistle.
In anyone's experience, what are the ramifications of being caught kidnapping your child?
Which you want to go from the most reasonable or to the extreme? Which one? Because we see it.
I don't know, man. I'm listening to this, and it's just a kind of a sad reality.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I could see kidnapping happening is the kid being used as a pawn. I just don't see a dad trying to kidnap a child in order to risk kidnapping a child just to spend time with the kid. I just don't see a dad doing that. I see a dad kidnapping a child in order to punish the mom for whatever reason.
Ed, I had to jump in to answer this one. Sorry, Lionel. Ed, I'm going to be honest. There are different cultures, and I agree with you with power and control. But let me be honest with you, Paul. There are some fathers who really want to see their children. There really are. Although we are, the society look at us as being macho and power and control, but there are really some fathers who cry. There's some fathers who drive hours looking for their children. I just want to put that out there in the internet world. I don't think all men, it's about power and control. I think there are some fathers who go to work, especially African American males. In fact, no, let me rephrase that. Some males are affected more than others. They're easy to go back and go meet another female and have a life, but there are others who really miss their children. And unfortunately, you break the law, there's consequences. I just have to put that in here.
Yeah, I have to agree with Rohan on that, because I mean, there's a father, from what I've seen, and even in the news, when you see these dads kidnapping their kids, like the latest one that I can remember is the father who, it was down here, the father kidnapped the child and left with his mom. And
I remember that.
So it was like, oh, he kidnapped the kid, he left with the mom, so they were on the run with the child. Now, to me, that's not a father who's kidnapping out of spite. That's a father who didn't have parental or was trying to get parental rights, was being, shut down at every turn. Last resort. Is it right? No, it's not. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying those are usually the times where you see a father going to that extreme, is when they feel like the system is failing them. So,
and that's that particular case, which is and I see some racial ramifications in that, because we have Black kids legitimately kidnapped every day, and it didn't get that type of exposure that particular case had gotten. So I think there was some powers that be, and I'm not even talking about Jesus Christ. I'm talking about some powers that be in play, that either the mother has some connections where they did a nationwide. Now you talking about this guy took this child out of state. This is a Florida case, and they had nationwide. So talking about flyers and PSAs to particularly recover this one particular child who happened to be with his father and his grandmother, which is the father's mother. And so, which wasn't particularly no immediate danger, because I think that child might have been with his father and the grandmother for every bit of 6 months at least. Because I remember seeing the billboards on the expressways, and I thought how expensive that must have been, to really recover one particular child, when I go to Walmart and see all these children missing. You understand? And so with that, I think there's a racial and a classist type narrative that put a certain urgency on which child should be kidnapped or at risk of being kidnapped the most than anybody else. If you're a Black father, there may be a 50-50 chance there may be, as you're a Black father, you probably automatically kidnap your child. You understand? If you're a poor father, you probably automatically kidnap your child. But if you're a well-to-do father, you may not get the Amber Alert from a well-to-do father. Why? Because he may be of money and influence. A great example of that, just to be a little bit off topic, is Jeffrey Epstein. This is a man who trafficked young girls right up in Palm Beach and got away with it for decades. You understand? And so I think the court may be racially biased in classes when it comes to, or economically or financially biased when it comes to what child is deemed more in danger and at risk than other children, then probably yes. But again, we have to face those because particularly as minority men, be it Black and brown, you already your child support and your treatment as a father stem from how you are seen particularly as a Black man or a minority male. So that's the ramification that we should look at as well. That's a factor that we don't really acknowledge, because we just say we only think about the father. We can be the odd child, but you got to still understand how society sees you as a father, and particularly a Black father or a brown father.
And that's very true, because of the stereotypes that's given. And so, to go back to what Lionel was saying, the poor father, whether you're Black or brown, you're seen as angry. You're seen as dangerous, because what else is there for you if you don't have the affluence and you don't have the money? You're just angry and you're about to do something that you shouldn't be doing. There's never a thought of, no, I love my child and I just want to be with my child.
That Gene, that is probably one of the biggest issues that I advocate and is on my plate right at this moment. A lot of people say, you always fighting for the men, you always saying something for the fathers, right? And I'm trying to get to a point where understanding that, me and Rohan was talking this morning. He was saying about emotions and feelings and women talking. And I said that, we forget all the social constructions. We are told not to communicate. We are told not to have emotions. We are told. And so if someone is telling us and saying, and not only telling us, because we do have emotions and we do communicate. This show shows you that we have men and fathers who know how to do that. But if the overall society says that we don't, then they're going to say that's why we can't really have any emotions or care about being around our kids or being with our kids, because they're going on, what I call stereotypes. really a stereotype of what they think dad should be. The idea that dad don't care about the kids, let mom take care of it. I'm gonna worry about going to Hooters and get me some wings and things like that. But when really, there's a lot more dads and men, especially in this generation, who really didn't have their dads. And they're very interested in being involved with their children because they didn't have a dad. You know, but the problem is what I find out very often in the communication with them is they don't want to deal with the mom in that same capacity. And that's the thing we have to work out, because also mom, maybe she may not be a bad lady, but she may really believe the stereotypical idea that she's the one. You know, one of the big things that I in the case I've been dealing with is that every time the dad says he's going to do something, the mom says, no, he can't do it. But she do the same thing. And she said the justification is that she's the mom. And I was like, what the hell? What does that mean? You the mom. So you can ride with no seatbelt, no car seat in the car because you're the mom, but I can't? No, that shit ain't, that don't even make sense. That sounds crazy. But it is a mindset. And we got to accept that mindset is, we have to, so what that means, if that's a mindset for us, we have to go out and prove another mindset. We have to begin to show and advocate that, hey, I care about being with my kids. I have emotions about my kids. I like my kids. You know, listen, I'm gonna tell you this, anybody who's a male school teacher, God forbid you worked at elementary school, okay? The people say, what this guy doing here? We gotta watch him because he can't really want to be around kids, when that was the farthest from the truth. You know, some of us like kids. We love to see the growth in the kid, and we have the patience and the discipline that we can give to them. And sometimes other people don't have, you know. But again,
you know, Ron, a quick one. Ed mentioned about fathers, and I'm suspect Ed might have said that out of just based off what he's seen or hear. Ed, I'm going to say this to you. Most times I talk about signs when I teach class. They're usually signs when it comes to an abusive father and sometimes abusive mother. We had a Caucasian in Broward County. He went as far as to put a tracer on his girlfriend's car. She kept going to the court saying that the guy's violent. But guess what? He's of the lighter color. Let me just use that for a better term. And guess what happened? The courts dealt with him as such. You know, you don't look like a abusive father. Guess what he does? At the end of the day, he commits suicide and kills his son. No, that is what we call power and control. He was in the court system. He was about to lose his son, and we know some of these lighter people, they will kill for their children because they're more. Some would say they're more family oriented. So keep in mind, it comes down to culture and science and behaviors when you come to like abusive fathers and abusive moms. He killed his son and killed himself. That is how far he went to not lose his child.
So Rohan, are you saying, and as you say that, Rohan, this is a very important conversation that you just brought up, because what some people would say is there is no justification for the things that he did. There will be no justification, right? But what I hear you saying is that what was it that justified him to be and do these things? Either you're going to say that he is a bad person and he just did it to be, and I think this is what Ed was saying, that most people that would do these things is out of spite and anger and what have you, and they were bad people. Or are we saying that no man can be that emotional that they could lose it all because they felt like they was losing the most important thing they had in their life?
Now, you say emotional, you better just use the word, so you're very careful. You can tell I've been in a few courtrooms. You're talking about passionate. And then are we not allowed to be passionate? You understand? So I think when it comes to men and women, and this is the sexism in the society that actually works against us, when most sexism works for us, and when it comes to parenting, it works against us, because, and when the courts see, when they see women, they see empathy. But when they see men, they see efficacy. And so empathy means that, you know what? She's a victim. she because she have that child and society is stacked against her, we're going to be more merciful when it comes to her. Efficacy means that you're a man, you have more privileges, so you have the ability, and this is what efficacy actually means. The definition means the ability to produce a desired outcome. You understand? And without even factoring the fact that you're Black.
Mhm.
So they're playing both things, like playing both injustices. Like, you know what? She has sexism against her. You a man, you have nothing against you, and didn't even want to acknowledge the racism that you have against you.
Right.
So it's amazing. I mean, you just have to learn how to really balance. And first of all, you got to know who you are, know your position. It's like any football player or any sports athlete. They already got to know their position. And you got to know the course is just another opponent in life that you're going to be playing. They could be the Chicago Bulls or they can be the Denver Nuggets or something. But you got to know who you are, particularly as a Miami Heat, my team, and what game plan you're going to have when it comes to navigate any part of life that you're going to be dealing with.
And I think Rohan says, not Rohan, I think Lightborn says something important when you're dealing with emotions is the passionate. And sometimes they mistake passion for anger, right? Because we have such a strong feeling about something, you must be angry about it as a man. And so that's not always the case. Because I have a strong feeling about something, it just means that I care about it more than I care about something else. Mm-hmm. And there's a big difference in that.
That's a social construction, Gene. That's a strong social construction, that the idea that when my voice is loud like this has something to do with me being angry. When it really has a lot to do with, I'm very passionate about what we're talking about. And it makes me get excited and I get excited, not angrily excited. I get enthusiastic excited. So mm-hmm. Enthusiasm comes through me to think about sharing something like this that other men, women will begin to hear and recognize and learn from. That, listen, I know you might say, hey, this guy yelling, man, he yelling, oh, he mad, he ain't. No, listen, nothing will be farther from the truth. This is really the idea of being able to look at a situation and begin to say, how are we? And how can people begin to see us as the human beings that they would accept to have full emotions like everybody else?
And, to better understand that, they can go back into one of our sessions called Why So Angry, where we do a deeper dive into the whole point of emotion, expression, and what it looks like as a male to express yourself, but express yourself in a way that's constructive, not destructive.
It's amazing how I think the law is because it's created by men, so of course it's going to be very contrary or contradictory. And I'm saying it to say this. I'm like, listen, you can't validate my right to be angry enough to kill somebody with one law. You understand? And then invalidate my right to be angry enough to cuss somebody out. And so you'll persecute me as a parent for being angry enough to cuss somebody out. But you have laws to protect me to being angry enough to kill somebody. You understand? And so, I mean, in certain laws you got, and you can Google it yourself to find out, that they have what they call crimes of passion. What do crimes of passion mean? You got crimes of passion laws that, and they may still have them, that where if you caught your wife in the bed with another man, you were within your rights. The law will protect your right to actually kill that man in it. You understand? So when we're talking about laws, it's good to just go ahead and research some of them that pertains to your situation, because that's what your lawyer going to do. He's going to go find some laws that validates your right to be angry enough to kill somebody.
That's
but
right.
You get disenfranchised, and particularly as a minority male or black or brown male, disenfranchised because you got angry enough to cuss somebody out when they got laws to protect other people from actually killing somebody because they got angry. And so I think the laws is one big walking contradiction. And I think that's why we send our children to school to really bring the justice to the law system that needs to be there.
Right. I like that, Lightburn. The kidnapping is a serious topic. It is a topic where when you talk about kidnapping, we talk about kidnapping like we see it on TV or some of those notices we get on our phone. But I think one father mentioned, if you take away someone's phone while you and the person are arguing, that can be considered a form of kidnapping because you restricted the person from making a call for help. But let's go deeper. How about the part where he killed his son, right? He killed his son and killed himself. And we know that some men will actually kill their girlfriends, their wives, and kill themselves. Now, how do we correlate that? We're looking at someone, I don't want to lose you, my son, my wife, my girlfriend. I'd rather take your life and take my life. And do we call that passionate about the person, or do we call it power and control?
I call it mental illness, to be honest with you. I don't think I really don't feel like that's something that's about passion. You see what I'm saying? I think it's a mental illness that the person has where they feel despair. They feel in a situation where they can't get out of. It's greater than who they can or are, in a sense.
It's control.
So it's a last desperate ditch effort to control a situation that you feel is uncontrollable. And so that's why I say I call it a mental illness. I really don't call that.
I like that so much, Gene, because if we start to say that it's a mental illness, right? It's something that means that this person is not normal. Because when you say it's power and control, that then means every man will do that. Because every man has power and control. Everybody have power and control, but it becomes our armor to become that, oh, we all could do that. That's why when you go to the court, the people are going to say, well, we're not going to let the kid be with you. We're going to let the kid stay with the mom. Because in the back of that judge's mind is that this man killed his child and himself. And you're a man, so you can do the same thing. We pretend like, oh, that don't happen. But that's the precedence. When you go in the court, you know that yourself, Rohan. We was in the court when we back then in the day, the judge said the reason why he wasn't going to let any of this stuff slide because he was in front of the newspaper when he let something slide before.
Right.
He the reason the people got killed, this and that, because he gave the person a chance. So I'm not giving nobody else no chance. This person made sure none of y'all ever gonna get no chance. Y'all could be 100% everything you need to be, but I'm not giving none of y'all a chance because all men will kill themselves and kill their child. And that's not true. Because you know, we don't say that all mothers kill themselves and kill their child when we see a higher rate. Now, just keep it 100 now. It's highlight. We got to talk about this, the news information system. They will not tell us very often about the mothers who kill their children. But if father do anything, he's not gonna be on front newspaper, Jack. He's gonna be on the news for 3 days.
But Ron, even if they do, you understand, the law is so, and this is why even the mental health system, and you know me, I have my biases when it comes to the mental health system, and they're not favorable biases. But when it comes to the mental health system, when it comes to disenfranchising, I think, again, remember I told you psychology shaped policy. And so if psychology shaped policy, and then, and we need, sexism is the overarching sexism is the racism when it comes to relationships. Then we're gonna go ahead and remember I told you empathy when it comes to the women. Then we're gonna go ahead and cover that narrative with the mental health narrative. And you know what that mental health narrative is gonna say? Ron, you're gonna love this because you this is your thing, your therapist. The mental health narrative is gonna say she had postpartum. You understand? You know what I'm saying? And so they're gonna say,
why did I know you was about to say that though?
Right.
I know you was about to say that.
Exactly.
She had a nervous breakdown.
I know you was about to say that.
So like, and to the form, I can give her that because something I said on the previous show, I can understand the trauma that comes along with having birth. There is a scientific trauma that comes along with it that can actually cost the mother and the child their life. At birth, we just seen it with one of the Olympic runners about a month ago. She died during childbirth. So that gives credence to what they're saying. So I'm not against that. But I am saying that narrative is there already to give them the empathy on why they may kill a child as opposed to why you did it. You understand? And what reason you had to did it and what traumatic experience you went through to bring this child into the world.
Well, let me say, let me even complicate this a little bit, because we talk about this, and this is great, and you brought this already, you brought it up, but I don't think people really heard how important it was. You know who made that available to say that it was okay for the woman to do that? Us as men, the ones who create the system. So a lot of times we'll pretend as the society made these things against us. We made them for ourselves. I hate to just be honest. So as much as the man judge sits on the bench, his decisions he's making is based as a man. And he's thinking as a man, he gonna protect this mother and that child. He don't trust, he's not gonna give that right, because he's thinking like a man. His idea is that you would do something wrong, because as men, some of us are so messed up in our mind, we believe I would do something wrong. See, that's some of that, what I call deflection. That's the deflection. What you think I would do, every man would do. Oh, I know he raped the girl, because I would have raped her too. No, I didn't rape no girl. But because you believe that you would, then we make the society believe that all of us would do that same thing, when that's not the reality.
But Ron, you know what's one of the most painful, I'm just gonna say it. You know, it's one of the most painful, irrational decisions, in particular men, and I'm talking men from all walks of life. I don't care what you think. And so the most critical time for men to make irrational decisions, right, is when you try to transition from being a hoe to a hero, right? So what you do when you're going to try to transition from a hoe to hero is what you do is you start to make irrational decisions and laws and stuff like that to penalize who you were, and not even apply the same mercy that was applied to you to get you to where you are. You understand? And so, I mean, that transition from hoe to hero, and that mindset, and saying like, you know what I'm going to do is save the world in one day, and not even respect the process that took you from hoe to hero, to say, you know what, I need the world to be just as merciful for men to men, whether when they're going through, as it was to me when I was going through. And that's the lack of empathy I'm talking about.
And it's funny that you say that, Lightborn, because it makes me think of mentorship, right? Because rather than mentor someone who's coming up so they're not like you, you rather punish them for being you, and punish them harshly for getting where you came from. So a lot of times that's exactly, I can understand exactly what you're saying, because people forget where they came from and they want to treat everybody as if they were perfect. But in the back of their mind, they're like, nah, I know what I would do. Just going back to what Ron said, I know what I would do. So definitely you would do it.
Right. When that's not, that's the farthest from the truth. Listen, just because you would take a candy bar from the store, I may not like candy bars. So guess what? I might not take the candy bar. But you're going to say that, monolithic mindset, put everybody under one silo and make everybody the same. That's what happens to us. And
I hate that.
And if as men, if we don't begin to start acknowledging it and then respond to it strategically, stop just reacting like the clown at the Barnum and Bailey circus about things. Be strategic like the tight walker. The tight walker is strategic. He can't go up there and dilly-dally because his ass is going to hit that ground. The clown can do all kinds of things, throw water at him. He can do all kinds of foolish, unrational stuff. But when we have to really put in the mind, and it comes back, who is given that right? Godly right as a man. So all of it comes back to you. So you have to take accountability and responsible for it all. And that's one of our biggest problems. A lot of us don't want to take the accountability and responsibility for being a man first, because we got to be a man to be a father.
That's right.
That's where we got a big problem in our society. We got a lot of fathers who are not men. They just fathers. They're not men. And it's
see, that's where my naivete comes shining through, because I'm thinking the ramifications of kidnapping my own kid just to spend time with
lost it.
He's there.
Teeny, I think you're on mute again. You gotta get off of mute.
Grandbaby might have pulled the thing out the plug.
Yeah, check the text and check the line. Maybe you're right.
No, I see him still here. I just don't see. And
Yeah,
okay, he's not on mute at all. So it's just probably the internet buffer.
Yeah. We missed that. We missed
LJ,
that.
what you got to say? You around here? What you waiting for the you waiting for the chant, LJ? You setting it up?
Hey, I'm always waiting for the chant, brother. I just always enjoy listening to y'all, man. It's sometimes it's just better to sit back, and enjoy the experience, enjoy the ride. I'm in the back seat today.
You know, Ron mentioned being a man. A very big topic. Okay, I was born a male. That's what my birth certificate says, right? But what does the society say about being a male? What does the society? Are you a provider? You go do 2 jobs, 3 jobs, take care of the house, control the temperature in the house? Really? What is it being a male? What does the society say versus what real fathers say?
Rohan. There, we listen. We live in a society today that listen.
It has changed.
This
that has changed.
Go ahead. You want to go ahead, Chevy? Go ahead. You want to say something? For
yeah, because I'm 31 years old. I don't know if I'm the youngest or the oldest, but I'm the youngest, and I'm married to a young girl. And the stigma is a man has to do everything as a provider. Say if your woman was raised in a home with a man and a woman married with family, she's raised as a man has to do everything as a provider. Am I wrong or right?
Listen, she was raised in the wrong kind of home, because to me, that when you was raised in a house with both parents, a lot of times you obviously, if you believe that your father did everything, you wasn't exposed to your family enough. Because let me tell you something, your mom was most of the time was the person who took care of a lot of stuff. Your mom was most of the time we look at mom being the one who do most of all the stuff, and the dad was the one who provided all the financial ability for all that to happen. That's the allegedly traditional way. But we live in a society, again, I told you a minute ago, many of us who are Father's Day, most of us are fathers. This generation of fathers is trying to be better than their fathers, who weren't, a lot of them weren't in the house for whatever reason. I'm not gonna say it's good, bad, ugly. They weren't in the house. So we are trying to say, I want to have the Bill Cosby kind of family. I want to have, I want to look like all of the Black sitcom families, not like the families from the 70s, but all the sitcoms from the 80 families. I want to look like that. Family Matters. I want to be in that kind of family, and I want to have that kind of family. But you know what happens? We don't have the one thing that we don't have is we don't have the teaching and guidance of that. We just going on what the TV told us. That's not the real true blueprint of how it operated. There's a way that it operated.
But that's okay. If you're gonna put and Chevy, I send this comment to you. If people are gonna put unrealistic expectation on you, you can put it right back on them. Because I'm like, okay, I can swing that. You understand? But you got to make sure you don't look no older, you don't get no fatter. You understand? And all the rest of those stereotypes that apply to women that deserve what you talking about. You understand? So if you're gonna put an unrealistic demand on me, I'm gonna put one on you. You understand? And don't give me that crap. Oh, I just had your baby, so that's why the weight gain. Okay, you got to, guess what? You got to pop it back into shape, because you know what? You got to fit the stereotype or fit the mold of what you're requesting. And a lot of people want to request something they can't live up to. And that's it.
I'm laughing this whole time. You so right. You're so right.
Make sure you don't get older. You understand? Because if I did everything I was supposed to do as what you said a man should be, then you need to do everything a woman needs to do, and particularly a superficial woman needs to do. Because if I'm gonna be a superficial man, you need to be a superficial woman. I ain't talking about a superwoman. I'm talking about a superficial woman. And to make sure you don't get fat, and make sure you don't get old. And when you start having that real conversation with them, then guess what? Everybody want to negotiate that.
That's a fact. I'm a Superman. That's a fact. I need a superficial woman. That's a fact.
There you go. Superficial woman make you a superficial man.
Yeah, Chevy, I want to add one real quick. Think about this. Think about this. The first male that your maybe your wife or girlfriend saw in her life, that's what she knows. That's nurture. That's what she saw. Her dad. There's some families, they only see the father hear the father going through the door and coming through the door at nights. And the reality is that that's what she knows. And I believe she knows. And most times some women want to remarry her father. Let's just go there. Right? Again, everyone is nurtured differently. But one of the best ways to cross that bridge is to have open communication. Lionel just said it best. Expectations. And the worst one I think that is really dangerous for all fathers is the untold expectations. Because those are the ones that you just mentioned just now. If you were told this prior to getting married, maybe you'd be having a different discussion right now.
Well, Ron, I don't know if it's untold expectations. I think there is the superficial society expectations that come. Because some people don't even have no idea what marriage, a husband, or any of that is. Then they let media, the society tell them what it is, and then they want that. And that's not real. Many times that's not real. We don't listen. Let me tell you something. Every one of us on here, as I look at who on here, right? If we was saying tomorrow we were gonna have a wedding, we had a budget for that shit. Everybody on here, and some of them working most of our life. We got money, we got house, we got all. But every person on here, if we say we're having a wedding tomorrow, we got a budget for that. And the list is not endless. Who could come to that moment? Okay, that list gonna be narrowed to how many places was in our butt, all that stuff.
50 people.
Realistically, the unrealistic thing is we can have a wedding on top of a mountain and helicopters can take everybody up. Listen, that's not us. That means we don't even got that. And guess what? Who gonna pay for it? Your parents. Listen, you know what? I'm good. We can have that wedding if your parents pay for it. No, because we're gonna try to help. When we get married, we're gonna have to kind of help them pay their goddamn mortgage sometimes. So why would we even have a wedding like that? Why don't we take our ass down to the family, go to your mama house, let's do the old fashioned. Then we talking about always being old fashioned. Let's be traditional. All that. Let's start getting traditional. Let's go to the biggest person's house. I'll go down to the church, the community church, go in there, invite everybody in, everybody bring food for the potluck for the wedding. These are the kind of things I'm talking about, because those things will help you unify your marriage for longevity. You put out $40,000-$60,000 for a wedding, you can be sure y'all gonna be getting a divorce for $800,000.
Let's bring a point. Parents should be able to sue children if they marriage don't work out. You pull out that kind of money.
If I'm born and it don't work out and I have trauma, I get to sue my parents.
Hey Ron, I'm sorry you had time, but give Teeny some extra time because I know he wanted to say something. He's back.
Yeah, you back, Teeny? Go ahead. We're gonna give you the last word tonight, my brother.
Oh, my bad. My computer just decided to reboot all of a sudden. Yeah, I guess the thing that I'm thinking is I'm trying to put my feet in the shoes of a man who would want to kidnap his child just to be able to spend time with him. If I'm thinking that way, I wouldn't want to deal with the ramifications of being apart from my child as a consequence of that after getting caught. I just wouldn't do that. And that's where I'm thinking maybe my naiveness is showing through, because maybe some men would find that well worth the risk to be able to make his point in order to see his child. What thinketh thou?
I'm gonna tell you, Ed. What it is you have different fathers going on different walks of life, and the fact that you can't wrap your head around that does not negate the emotional feelings and attachment you have for your kids. What it is you've just never had to have that experience, and you've never been put in a place to ever think you need to have that experience. So that's why for you and for a lot of other fathers, not just you, it's going to be a situation where you're like, yo, I would never do that because I don't see the point in doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what it all boils down to, is the experiences that we have as fathers. They're not all going to be equal, and they're all going to be the same.
And to expand on what J. Rob just said, is the answer was actually in what you just said, Teeny. You said you can't see how a father will plan to kidnap his child, when the truth of the matter is kidnapping your child is not planned, and it's a father without a plan. So it has nothing to do with a plan. It has everything to do with not having a plan, and that's the reason a father will end up kidnapping that child.
Absolutely, like that. And I would say that the irrational thought that feel like, and I can hear it, the father saying in his mind, the mom do this all the time. Shit, I'm gonna get mine now. Listen, this is what he says. He says in his mind, she do this shit all the time. I'm gonna get mine now, and I'm gonna just take the kid. I ain't coming back. And then she called the police on him and say he was gone with the kid. He didn't want to. Listen. I hate to tell you. I'm gonna say this last thing, and I just want us to think about this. What reason would a woman go to a hospital and take somebody else's baby and raise it herself? I want to leave that. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'm gonna leave that right there.
That's another show.
But I want you to think about when we start looking at how it can be a negative for fathers who might do this. But you'll say that a mother, she's not even a mother, she's just a woman who takes other people's kids and take it to take and raise them good, raise them great, superior. They off to college, doctor. They become an adopter.
I saw the story. Go ahead though.
So you just gotta say that, understand that, and my final say is that remember that men and fathers are also human beings who love, who want to spend time with their children. And mothers, if you are not allowing them, think about letting them spend time. Even if the dad don't want to spend time, think about forcing them to spend time. You just drop the kids off at his house on the porch and leave them and say, I'll be back to get them. Because they're not gonna get you for abandonment. They just gonna make the dad take the kids in the house, and then eventually you can come back and pick them up.
Just make sure he's home.
Oh yeah, make somebody in the house. Matter of fact, call him and tell him, hey, you home? You home alone? I want to come over and do a little thing with you. And then he'll be the, yeah, baby, come on in. When you open the door, just put the kids right there and then walk away. Go on in, kids. There go your daddy.
All right, Ron, we had time.
All right, gentlemen. Hey, man, we could go on and on forever, man. This was a great topic tonight. Thank you, Rohan, for throwing that in the chat and getting us in here to think about understanding parental kidnapping. Fathers, if you had a good time, and people, if you enjoyed yourself, if you rewatch this, like, share, and subscribe to our page. We are a community group who just have conversations about father issues that ultimately affects the whole family. And with that being said, Father, repeat after me. I am a man of honor.
I am a man of honor.
I am a man of courage.
I am a man of courage.
I say I am a man of respect.
I am a man of respect.
Fathers, I say that I am. I say that you are.
You are.
I say that we are.
We are.
Championship.
Oh, y'all got me. Oh, let me go back to the drawing board.
We were ready for you, Jay. We were ready.
Okay. Oh, y'all been plotting on a brother.
Yeah, we've been working. Again, fathers, if you're interested, we'll see you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, we'll be finishing this conversation more intimately Hopefully maybe I might even be able to get that brother to come on who had the incident, and we can talk to him about what happened with the parenting plan, so you can get a good idea how that operated and worked out for him. With that being said, fellas, good night, and
Good night.
you know, we'll see you tomorrow. If not, we'll see you next week.
Great conversation, gentlemen.
Yeah, of course. Have a good night, guys.